Good afternoon. I want to thank everybody for joining us again this week for another Facebook Live that we've been having. We've been trying to kind of switch it up a little bit and talk about some different things that we've been doing here with the city. Last Friday, we didn't have the opportunity to do this because we had to, we decided to go out and celebrate Juneteenth with many activists here, and that was a great thing that we were able to do with our creatives and really to focus on the importance of Juneteenth and what that means not only to Black Americans in this country, but this country's history itself. So we're glad to have the participation of our creative community and really adding their involvement in painting over a former slave market in the middle of downtown on Court Square, generated tens of thousands of hits and shares. So far beyond, I think, what any of us probably thought. So Michelle Browder and many other creatives, hats off to you all for the idea. And I'm just glad that we were here to okay it, if you will. And I'm glad we didn't go with my idea, because I think your idea was a lot better than mine. So I do want to start off, and this is going to be an abbreviated session, but we're going to talk about a couple of quick things. And the first one's just going to be to give you an update on where we stand with the COVID-19 pandemic. As you may have been seeing in your news, a number of states are dealing with COVID-19 surges, no different than we are here, except for they're seeing even higher spikes than we've seen in the state of Alabama. So Texas just rolled back their restrictions on bars and restaurants. Florida is making some changes. And so we've been trying to stay consistent in our message regarding COVID-19 and encouraging people to stay at home, practice social distancing, and certainly to wear a mask. And I guess over the last few weeks, that has kind of taken on its own life with the executive order for the mandating the mask be worn. We've seen some increased usage in that, but not enough. So we want to encourage everyone to continue to increase their wearing a mask, to try to encourage their friends, coworkers, and colleagues to do the same. And if we can do that, then we can slow the spread of COVID-19 and hopefully try to get things back sooner rather than later. One of the things that comes with the mask mandate is we need business participation. And we need that participation because it's very important that we get that type of involvement from our retailers, from our small business owners, so that we can see those numbers start to come down. I'm afraid that if we don't start to see those numbers come down, we're going to have to take more deliberate action. And that may involve other mechanisms of motivation, if you will, to get both the public and our businesses to look out for their employees, to look out for their neighbors, and look out for one another as we continue to battle this pandemic. In Montgomery County recently, we've still seen throughout June 105% increase so far. In May, we had almost a 400% increase in testing. And even though we are testing more people, we're seeing a higher than normal positive rate. And so 2/3 of those are under the age of 65. And it is having an impact on our hospitalization rate as well as our ICU. So there are indirect impacts that come along with the numbers that we have. And so it's important that, in my mind, we continue to do the things that we were doing back in March and April. It is certainly apparent that there is no season to this virus. And so we're going to have to do things on our own to try to contain it until there's a vaccine. And we're going to have to continue to make sure we get the message out. I met with some doctors this week about spreading the message. They are very concerned about the level of COVID cases they're seeing in the hospitals. I met with some pastors as well. They are very concerned, and all have agreed to try to utilize their platform that they have to spread the word about COVID-19, and most importantly, try to get people to wear their masks and stay at home. So I want you to be cognizant of that. Let's try to work within our confines to do everything we can so that, again, we can try to keep everyone safe, and we can make sure that those people who are susceptible to being impacted by COVID-19, that we reduce their exposure. I mean, that's really the best way to say it. And so we're going to ask for your help on that. Next, I want to make sure that we talk about the transition report. That is going to be the crux of this Facebook Live. And again, it'll be a abbreviated version. There is no guest. I've had a little work done on my mouth, so I may sound a little funny. But, you know, I want to make sure that I spoke about a couple of these important issues. So we've hit on COVID-19 and the mask mandate. Now we want to talk about something that we put off because of COVID-19, and that is our transition report. Our transition report really has been done for a few months now, but we've been trying to find a good time to release it, to get people to discuss it and to really look at what came out of those community meetings. We had over 70 volunteers with 6 different committees, and we asked everybody, you know, give us your thoughts on economic development, give us your thoughts on education, give us your thoughts on health and wellness, on infrastructure, give us your thoughts on things that we can do better, things you would like to see us do. And this was the first time that we had brought together stakeholders and members of the community to do a public transition report. We even had a municipal assembly, which drew a couple of hundred people prior to COVID-19, to the city council chambers. And so we've had great participation, and out of that, we got great feedback. And so yesterday we had the chairs of the transition team, Judge Manzetta McPherson, as well as John Mazik, principal owner of Fraser and the investment firm, bring forth a summation of what was recommended in that. And with the Montgomery United Transition Committee, there were some cross-cutting themes that we had. And you can see, as you look on the slide, some of the themes were around education. They were around equity. They were about reopening our community centers, marketing and communications, letting people know what's going on with the city and doing a better job with that. And also pursuing outside funding. These things are very important because I heard this throughout the campaign. I've heard it since we've been in office, and many of you have shared this with me, whether it was at the grocery store, whether it was just out somewhere in public, or things that you want to see us do. And so you can glean from this some varying priorities that people really want to see us participate in. And when I think about the recommendations, creating a cabinet level public health position, elevating and fully staffing the Office of Cultural Arts and Entertainment, supporting increased local funding for Montgomery public schools, reimagining police community relations, and restructuring the Office of Economic and Community Development. Things that really go right to the core of the viability of this city. And make no mistake about it, if your city is not viable, then it's not going to be one that can grow. If it does not have a solid education system, it's not going to attract jobs. It's not going to keep our families here. If the city does not have the proper public safety mechanism, we're not going to be able to do the things in the social atmosphere that we want to do. We're not going to be able to attract entrepreneurs and attract the tax base that we really want to be here. So these things are very important as we consider where we are right now. And one of the things that we got kind of as we move through the recommendations, we got feedback about how to make sure our health department was doing a better job, having a central figure there for our public health department. It's something that is often overlooked, but given that these recommendations came out prior to COVID-19, they couldn't be more timely. So we understand there's a need for a public health official and for an infrastructure which supports our private healthcare enterprises, but also gets information out to those who don't have access to health insurance, who don't have access to regular checkups. So that's a big part of the viability of Montgomery moving forward. You know, some of these things, I love to have an Office of Cultural Arts and Entertainment in the way that it is listed here. We've talked about that before, and we're going to continue to look at ways that we can do that. Funding is going to be challenging in this environment because, quite honestly, our funding for everything is probably going to be cut, if not 25%, upwards of 30%. So we're going to have to cut back on a lot of our city funding just because we don't have the tax dollars to expend there. And I think when we consider the increased funding for Montgomery Public Schools, that is something that we talked about before. But this year we were able to do something very unique. And I'm glad I was able to play a strong role in that. And that is we were able to really drive the legislative momentum along with our local delegation to push through legislation that will allow people to vote on whether or not they believe we should invest more in our public schools. We're going to have that opportunity this November. And so it's very important that we recognize that because this hasn't been done since 1994. And there were a lot of entities that didn't want it done now. There are a lot of entities that want to starve our public school system. So it's been starving too long, and that's why we're seeing some of the challenges that we see. But now that we're here, we're going to have the ability to really chart our own direction, if you will, as it relates to public schools and our funding. And I believe that we're in a prime position to make the best of that. I think that we can really change the outcomes of students, teachers, and their families in a way that they've never had because many of them are working without the resources needed. And so we want to think about those things, but we also want to make sure we're considering public transportation. You know, public transportation has been a very hot topic. It has been something that we really want to look at. And one of the recommendations that came out of the transition report was rebidding the city's public transit contract. And more than likely, we're going to do that. We're going to take a look and see what else is out there and see if we can get some improvement for people who don't have access to a car, people who don't have access or the ability to call an Uber. We want to make sure we're providing infrastructure in the city to meet not only where we are right now, but where we want to go. And that means if anybody wants to get from one side of town to the other, they can do just that. So we're going to be looking at those mechanisms. We're looking at some of the CARES Act money that has been set aside, and we're going to look at how we can invest those things. And we've already started making some changes, but certainly not near enough. As it relates to, you know, the Office of Economic and Community Development, I think that is very key to us being successful. We have to have a community development plan that works with our planning department, works with our IT department, and works with community development and economic development in a way that meshes the ideas and the implementation together. I'm not sure that's always been the case. I'm not sure that we've had the plan or the infrastructure there to really try to bridge the gaps between different parts of town and their development that they see, whether that's retail, business, or even affordable housing. We want to work with all of our partners in that, and we believe that we've heard enough from the community to know that's a priority. So when we factor what we have from the community along with our Envision 2040 plan, which is the next 20-year plan for the city of Montgomery, it is a comprehensive plan, then I think we have the blueprint for what we need to do. Now we have to go out and make sure that we have somebody in here that can help us build and connect downtown because of the tourist attraction that it is, but also build out the ecosystem to past downtown, to the south side, to the west side, north side, all parts of Montgomery, and make sure that we have retail, small business incubators, that we have an opportunity through affordable housing in certain places to do some infill development. but also to make sure that we have the possibility to reimagine former commercial corridors like the Southern Boulevard. How do we reimagine what the Northern Boulevard was supposed to be initially at its inception versus where we are right now? So we want to look at all those things, and we want to make sure that we're doing the things that have been suggested to us. So as I conclude with my remarks, I want to let you know that you can pick up the transition report at montgomeryal.gov. It is there in full. Download it, read it, take a look at it. You can watch the press conference from yesterday. But really, we want you to understand that the transition report and the Envision 2040 plan, those are going to be the blueprints to how we prioritize things in the city. There may be some extenuating circumstances that come out of left field, but that's going to be how we look at investing in our community and how we plan our policies and how we plan our strategy for building a better Montgomery, and one where there is more opportunity for everyone to live, learn, and earn. It is important that you understand this is in paper. This is on paper. It's in a packet. It's on our website. You have the opportunity to know exactly how we're going to go about doing these things. Now, can everything be done by the next council meeting? No. Can everything be done by the end of the quarter? No. But a lot of it has already been done, and we're working on more of it even as we speak. So make no mistake, change is already happening. We have already demonstrated that, and we will continue to change going forward. So check out the transition report. Check out Envision 2040 so you can see what's going to be our guidebook for Montgomery going forward. Now, with that said, if there are any questions, I'd love to answer those right now. And again, I'm going to try to keep this brief so we can have something to say for next week, and we can make sure that we get on to the next items on the agenda for today. If you have any questions, you can post those now. Okay. How about free public transportation in the downtown area to keep people from driving? We've talked about subsidizing shuttles, and we are looking at how much that will cost as well. I know there was a shuttle at one point that was discontinued just because so many people either are indecisive and want to get in their car and make a last minute decision, or they just want to get in their car and go a little bit further than maybe where the shuttles may take them. One of the things that we have to do is we want to make sure in the COVID-19 era, we are looking at things through that lens. And again, we believe we're going to be battling COVID-19 for the next 6 months to a year. We have to make sure that we are planning in accordance with that. So we aren't sure about how people are going to feel about being packed on a shuttle, much less a bus. So those are things that we're trying to get our arms around and make some decisions. What about the people not wearing masks in Montgomery? Thank you for that question. Again, we want to encourage everyone to wear those masks. We want to encourage people to look out for their neighbor, to look out for someone other than themselves. And if we can do that, then hopefully more people will begin to wear masks. I believe we're seeing some increase in people wearing masks, depending on where you are. But we have to continue with our information campaign. We have to continue to encourage people. And then we have to let people know, again, that if you don't wear a mask, you can be fined. We aren't looking to do that. But at the same time, it is a tool. And again, if we don't see the numbers come down, if we don't see the usage go up, then we may have to take out some additional measures where those businesses are concerned, where people are not wearing those masks. What is the Mayor's Young Professional Council? Why or who should join? It's a great question. Well, the Young Professionals Council is really a sounding board for the mayor, people from 18 to 36, to be able to have monthly meetings about issues that you care about. Why I think it's important that you join is because you're going to get access to not me, but you're going to get access to decision makers in this community who are going to tell you what's happening, why it's happening, and how it's happening. But also they're going to be there to listen to your ideas about how we can make the city better. And this is not in a formal city council session. It's not in a work session. It is just one where people on the unprofessional council be able to ensure their ideas get to the people that are making decisions throughout the city, not just in my administration, but also in the business community and the private sector. So I think it's a great opportunity for anyone who's between the ages of 18 and 36 to be able to voice their concerns, voice their thoughts, and get immediate feedback and know that they're going to be able to interact with those decision makers over the course of the term. All right, applications are due June 30th. Visit Montgomery al.gov to apply. So there we go. We got that out there. Are you getting rid of the curfew? Yes, the curfew was lifted last Saturday. The county lifted its curfew on Monday. So the curfew is gone. And we did that because we got the mask mandate, and the curfew was there to try to discourage groups from gathering in large numbers, hence spreading COVID-19. But that was before the mask mandate, and we believe that with the mask mandate in place, that we didn't want to hurt any of the small businesses or late night establishments, which may have been abiding by the curfew, but we wanted to make sure that people, practice some level of personal responsibility, but we didn't want to continue to challenge or present obstacles to those late night establishments from staying open. So that's where we are with the curfew at the city level. And again, the county lifted theirs on Monday as well. All right, well, listen, I want to thank you for participating this week. I look forward to having this every week and look forward to coming back and discussing some other issues. If you have other subjects, other topics you want us to cover, please feel free to shoot those ideas to us. We come into this with some things in mind, but not everything. So if there's some topics you want to hear us discuss or lay out for you, shoot that to us between now and the next meeting. We'll try to incorporate that as well. And certainly the questions that you may have, we'll try to address that. So I want you to have a great weekend. We want you to stay safe. And if you must go out, please wear a mask. Thanks a lot.